Okay, in this video we're going to talk about quadrilateral proofs, so figures with four sides. Alright, our first one is given ABCD is a parallelogram, prove that triangle ABE is congruent to triangle CDE. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to put is my given. So ABCD is a parallelogram. Well, I know that if it's a parallelogram, there's certain pieces. I know that the opposite sides are parallel, and they're also congruent. So I can say that this side is equal to this side, and this side is equal to this side. That's just in the definition of a parallelogram. So I could say that AB is congruent to CD, which I had there. And I could also say that AD is congruent to BC. And you could put by definition of a parallelogram instead of what we have here. It says in a parallelogram, opposite sides are congruent. Okay, that's by definition of a parallelogram. And then I could also say that they're diagonals. So for a parallelogram, the diagonals bisect each other so that this is equal to this and this is equal to this. The diagonals of a parallelogram always bisect each other, so it cuts it into two equal portions. So I could say that AE is congruent to EC, and that DE is congruent to EB. And I can then say that the triangles are congruent because I had this with this, this with this, this with this, and this with this. So if I look at ABE, this triangle here, it is a side, side, side. And if I look at CDE, it's also side, side, side. So I can say that the two triangles are congruent by side, side, side. Alright, this one, they told me that AD is congruent to BC and that AB is congruent to DC, and I want to prove that AD is parallel to BC. So I'm going to put my first pieces here. Given, another given. Then I could say that AC is congruent to AC by the reflexive property. And then if I look at that, let me put the tick marks here. They told me that AD is parallel to BC. So I put one tick mark on AD and one tick mark on BC. They also told me that AB was parallel with DC. And then I knew that AC is congruent to itself. So by side, 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 I know that the two triangles are congruent. So that's what I put for the next piece here. I said that the two triangles are congruent. So side, side, side. Now I can say that angle DAC is congruent to BAC. If all of them are congruent, if the triangles are congruent, then their corresponding parts, or the congruent parts of congruent triangles, are congruent. So that CPCTC is congruent parts of congruent triangles are congruent, or corresponding parts, the parts that match up. Okay, so angle A matches with angle C. So I could say that DAC is congruent to BCA. Remember, when we put three letters, we're really looking at that middle letter. Alright, and then because of that, because I know I have these lines that are equal and a line cutting through it, I know I have this sort of transversal, and I can say that those two sides must be parallel if they're creating alternate interior angles.